So for my eye project, you're going to start with a blank piece of paper, a ruler, and a pencil. And what you want to do is just so you have lines, guidelines, you're gonna take the paper in half, you're gonna mark it, but with a halfway markers. This one was 11 inches, so I did 5.5 inches, I think. And then on each side. And then what you want to do is for the top half, you want to mark that, half of that, which is 2.5 inches, about 2.25, I think it was. And then you're going to draw a line over it. And then after that, you're going to flip it over so that we can't see the marks, and you're going to fold those lines. If you don't feel like being technical, you could probably just get away with folding the paper in half and then half again. But I like to be precise. After that, you're going to draw a straight line across where the crease is. And then you're going to take the ruler and draw another line halfway through that line that you just drew across. And then from there, you're going to draw 2 smaller circles and then 1 circle on the bottom that's about twice the size. It should take up the diameter of both those circles. And then after that, you're going to draw the lips going around those circles. One of the mathy elements in this one is, for this part, is the shapes and using scaling of the lips, because the bottom lip tends to be bigger than the top portion of the lips. So that's how I decided to make the lips look somewhat realistic, even though I can't draw them to be realistic. Once you're done with that, you're going to trace the lines. And it doesn't have to be red, but I like red. Just so that way it looks nice and pretty. I'm also a perfectionist, so that's me with lines. And then what you want to do when you trace them on the bottom, it's a little hard with the crease, but you're supposed to have the little indent between the lips so it like curves into those 2 circles where the 2 circles meet. So there's more of a space, and that's supposed to be like a darkened space. There's my poor attempt of that. After that, you're gonna color it in. To make it look more 3D and realistic, I drew lines at the highest points, and then you draw curved lines going away from that line to make it look more 3D like. See the line right there, and then I go away from the line so it has a curved look to it. What I also did, if you can see, I start in the middle of the 2 lips and then go down so that way it gets lighter towards the bottom, and that will also give it a more 3D feel to it. I took a darker color here so I could try to get that middle darker, kind of see it. And then we're going to open up to look at the inside of the mouth, and what I'm drawing now is going to be the little crease in the lips, very exaggerated for the purpose of this art piece. What I'm doing now is I'm going to draw the teeth in. This isn't going to be the most perfect realization, but if you can see, I'm comparing, I look at my teeth through the camera, and then I see how they're shaped. And I know that my teeth aren't symmetrical, but I tried to make it somewhat symmetrical when drawing them. What I'm doing here is trying to add a little bit more of that curvature that I was trying to get when the paper was folded. And as I start tracing these, I want to point out the bottom teeth. I have them, when I opened my mouth, I saw that you couldn't really see them, so I tried to just do like the top half so you can like see it like looking down instead of just looking straight at it. That was my goal for the bottom, to give it a more 3D feel to it. I also am drawing the open space in the back of my mouth with a little uvula in it. And I'm pointing out the symmetrical of my teeth, even though my teeth are not symmetrical. I wanted it to be symmetrical. The next step is to draw the little surprise. It's a tongue that's going to pop out. And what you want to do is, that's my lip, like that's like the little lip that's going to be taped down. But what I just did is I was measuring my tongue in comparison to my lips, and they're about the same size, so I measure the lips and then measure out the tongue. I made the tongue just a little bit longer than the lips, just for some added effect, but it's essentially the same size. I tried to make the tongue to scale so that way it wasn't just a overbearing large tongue or too small of a tongue, and it just looked weird. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fold it so that way it won't, I wanted to make sure it was going to work the way I wanted it to first of all, but I also did it so that way I knew where it was going to be placed. And it's just showing that they're about the same size, like I mentioned earlier. So this is going to be part of my tessellation. I am taking that tiny square, and then I cut a little half moon shape, or a half circle shape, and then taped it to the other side. And it's like little tiny puzzle pieces. And what I do is I just shift it either front, like forward, back, side, or side. I don't flip it or change it at all, I just slide it. So that way I can get that tessellation, it's all the same shape. What I also did, instead of doing the entirety of the tongue, I decided to have a zigzag going in the middle around it. So that way I saved time, and as well as, you know, making it look cooler, adding some more geometric effect to it. then I just color it in, and I like to watch coloring, so I hope you do too. So this next part, in addition to the tessellation on the tongue, I am adding a pattern with the color scheme. It's gonna go like a hot pink to this violet-ish color to a light pink and then to a red and then repeat. I did mess up at one point, but I don't think I added it in the video, so maybe you won't notice, but I already mentioned it. Yeah, I like patterns and tessellations. I especially like it on the tongue. I feel like it represents like the little buds on your tongue, like the taste buds and stuff. The next part on this is I took a gold Sharpie and I'm drawing a box and then putting smaller boxes inside of it. This isn't technically considered a fractal like John Pollock, but they do, the squares that I have are getting smaller by a certain scale, and even though it's not exact, I tried to make the edges of each square-ish shape, it's more like a rectangle, I try to make those edges go in the middle of each side, so that way it had a consistency to it, and it was as close to scale as I could make it. Kinda looks like a rose, I like it, but I made it for like that hole in your throat. But I didn't want to make it too dark, so I used some cute little brownish colors. My next step is taping the tongue. I was debating to do this after I colored in the rest of my mouth, but I decided to forego it because I was already in the middle of doing it, so I just simply colored the rest of my mouth black because I couldn't think of anything mathy. So what I did instead is I took our number systems and I decided to secretly hide them in my mouth with black and gold marker. I used the Egyptian, the Roman numerals. I used some Mayan, not a lot. It's kind of hard to use these numbers because of I didn't want to just put a bunch of lines in there. Like, I'd put tallies in there and then I decided I didn't like it, so there's just one tally in there too. And then to add some extra textures, I colored in the face of the lips. I added in some dimple-y things. A little part of the nose. I also added some marker to my lips too, but when you open it, it's a tongue. Yeah, there's my tessellation, my pattern, my fractal, some symmetry. I used some circles, tried to make some 3Ds, and then you can kind of see my little numbers over there. I also added a picture, a still picture. Maybe you'll be able to see it better at the end. But that is it, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about my art project. Thanks.